channel. My name is Joni and I'm here with a different sort of video from my usual one. Normally on my channel I film knitting podcasts where I talk about my various progress and my whips and finished objects. But today, and because it seems like the YouTube algorithm likes it when I post more than one video in a week, I decided to try something new. So this is a little bit of a knit with me kind of video where I'm going to take a project that I'm working on and set a timer for 15 minutes, and hopefully you can, pause this video, go grab one of your whips, and we just work on knitting for 15 minutes while we talk, or I talk. I mean, you can feel free to talk at the camera along with me, but I can't hear you and you can hear me. Wouldn't be much of a conversation, but you can try it if you want. Whatever makes you happy. But yeah, I thought I would just talk about some sort of story or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes now. And so I have my Express Yourself sweater here from the Knit Collage Cal, and I'm gonna be working on knitting the body while I talk. So my story for today is the story of how my mother and I ended up on a cross-country road trip when I was 17. So it was the summer before my senior year of high school, so maybe I was 16. I must have been 16. And so this would have been 2009, I believe. And so I was getting letters from a bunch of colleges, as students often do. And one of the colleges that sent me a bunch of correspondence inviting me to apply was Carleton College in Minnesota. And there was another college also in Minnesota, St. Olaf, that my mother also wanted me to be interested in. And so she's like, oh, we should, visit these schools because they're interested in you applying. And so I think we were at like Target or something one day, and she's like, oh, we should drive out there, make it a little road trip out to Minnesota. And for reference, we live in New York, so that's like halfway, a little less, across the country. Quite a long drive. And so at the time, I was also kind of into like Japanese street style, Lolita fashion, and there was a store opening up in San Francisco for a Lolita brand, Baby the Stars Shine Bright. And that was happening in mid-August, I believe. And so when my mom said, oh, let's drive halfway across the country to go visit this college, I was like, hey, you know what? While we're there, we're already halfway across the country. Let's go to San Francisco. Let's just keep driving to San Francisco. My dad is there listening to this conversation happening, and he's just like, no, this is not happening. And my mom's response is, yeah, let's do it. So my dad, ever skeptical, is like, okay, you guys, if that's what you want to do. And my mother is like, oh yeah, we're doing it. So she went and purchased a bunch of maps, and we sat down with these maps of the entire United States, planning out our route. So my parents have a sort of like thing where they use hotel credit cards, and every time we need to take a flight, they'll usually buy gift cards for the airline on those credit cards. So they rack up a lot of points for hotels. So we were able to book hotels like going all the way across the country, and we're sitting down and planning this, and it's gonna take about a month. So we've decided to stop in Minnesota for a few days. We're gonna stop at Chicago and check out the University of Chicago for a few days, and then end up in San Francisco for a few days. So we did all of this planning, booked all of this stuff, rented a car, packed up clothes for a month because we weren't really going to be able to do laundry on the road because we were just staying in you know, between like better hotels, there was also a lot of just like, you know, lower end motels and stuff. And yeah, we pack up the rental car with all of our suitcases and stuff, and we head out. And my dad apparently went outside with his cup of coffee. It was in the morning, and he sat on the front step, just expecting us to have turned back before we even left our street. And he sat out there waiting for like 20 or 30 minutes and realized we weren't coming back, so I guess we were gonna be still out there. So we set off, heading west, and I think we went like New York to Pennsylvania. We ended up in Indiana, took a detour for some pretzels at some like Amish shopping mall, which were like the most amazing pretzels ever in Shipshewana, Indiana. We discovered Culver's, which is the world's greatest fast food chain, and I'm very sad we do not have it in New York. We went to Chicago, where there was a Harry Potter exhibit at the Museum of Science and Industry, and checked out the University of Chicago. And I actually fell in love with the school, and I ended up going there for my first couple of years of undergrad. But let's see, a bunch of amusing stuff happened on the way. So random anecdotes. At one point, like out west, I forget where we were, but we were driving toward our hotel late at night, and suddenly there was a sign that we were entering a state park. And my mom's like, what is this? Why is this suddenly a state park? And we go over a hill and then down, and all of a sudden we are just surrounded by bison, and my mom naturally starts screaming. She was the one having to do all the driving because I didn't have my license yet. And she's just like, oh my God, no, bison. And they were literally like 2 feet from the car. They were right up on the road, and it was slightly terrifying. Let's see. At the same time we were making this way across the country, there was a big motorcycle rally going on. And I mean, this was like huge. There were literally hundreds of thousands of people on motorcycles from not just from all over the US, but from all over the world. We were at Yellowstone maybe, and looking at some geyser, and it started raining, and my mom's just has her umbrella out, and all of a sudden this like tall, absolutely goofy Italian man ducks under, just dressed in the full like leather like motorcycle gear, and he gets under the umbrella with her, and he's just like, hi, how are you? And it was just like so funny. And then of course the Italian women bikers were just like standing off to the side looking like beautiful and glamorous and smoking their cigarettes. For some reason bikers of every nationality are like just a complete they all just seem like absolute stereotypes. Like at breakfast at one of the hotels one morning, there was in the table next to me this couple of Canadian bikers who were just like, oh, this is very nice. And then talking to a couple of German bikers who were just like dressed in all black and super serious and scary, and it was just like, how are you guys all just like the exact stereotype of your nationality? It was very amusing. We went to Mount Rushmore and watched this nature documentary video about how you should listen to the sounds of all like the nature and the animals and chirping birds and the rustling of the trees, and we get out and all we hear is the sound of like 10,000 motorcycles in the background, because of course it was all filled with bikers. Additionally, when we were at Yellowstone, we got to witness bikers standing like 2 feet in front of some bison, holding their kids up, like trying to take photos, and that wasn't very safe. So yeah, it was a very interesting thing. Everywhere we went, it was hard to get into a restaurant or hard to find parking because the whole streets were just lined with motorcycles. Yeah, it was cute. So we keep going west, and meanwhile, just at the time I was pescatarian, now I'm fully vegetarian, but I was getting so sick because there was like very little food I could eat on the road. There'd be usually some sort of like very fried, oily fish and some sort of like fried potato. And that was usually like the extent of my meals until we actually got to the West Coast. So I'm like feeling like absolute garbage the entire way. And then we finally like stopped at a supermarket one night to get dinner because we were too lazy to go to a restaurant, and I got a plain bagel and yogurt and an apple, and it was the best meal I have ever had. Just gentle on the stomach. So anyway, we get to the West Coast and we went through Oregon, and we stopped in Eugene, Oregon, which was pretty cool. I would love to visit again. I don't know why, but like it just seems like I knew of so many people from Eugene, and so it just seemed like for people going to like Hollywood and like the stars or whatever on the ground, like that was what Eugene, Oregon was for me. Okay, so we get to the coastline, walk across these like gorgeous sand dunes. There's like giant rocks in the water. It's beautiful. And then we start driving south into California. And if anyone knows about driving along the coastline through California, it is a rather treacherous route. My mom, who, was doing all the driving, was crying the entire time because it's this narrow little road just along like steep cliff drop into the ocean, and there's no guardrail, and she is just bawling her eyes out the entire time. And at one point we're like going around a bend, and it's just steep cliff on our left, steep cliff on our right, just rocks and no way but down into the ocean and certain death. And in the middle of this, I see a cow crossing sign, and of course I burst out laughing because my question is, how do the cows get there? And my mom hears me laughing and she starts freaking out, like, how dare you laugh at my misfortune, laugh at my pain and my suffering. And I'm just like, but cows, how are there cows here, mother? We stopped at a gas station, and some poor gas station attendant had to like console her until she like called my dad, and he was like, do I have to fly out there to drive you home? Are you going to be okay? I think my mother at one point just like wanted us to just fly home, and I'm just like, no, we've come too far for this. We have to keep going. We got to San Francisco. We went to the store opening, which was like really fun. Lots of people all dressed up in their cool fashion. I got a bunch of stuff. I got a bunny bear who I might have to introduce on here someday. It's literally, if you're not familiar with them, it is a backpack that is a teddy bear wearing a bunny hat. It is so cute. So while we were in San Francisco, some guys started talking to me and my mom, and then they were asking her if she wanted to go smoke weed with them. That was cute. She was very confused by it. She was like not even sure what they were asking her at first. On our way back, we passed through Nebraska, and I remember going into like one of the rest areas and thinking it's so clean. Like I never had any positive or negative thoughts towards Nebraska. I thought this must be, Nebraska, but the rest area and the bathrooms were like incredibly spotless and clean. I was like, wow, maybe Nebraska's a great place. Until I saw the sign above the sink about not washing dishes there, and I was like, maybe not so nice. I don't know. So yeah, that was great. We did eventually make it home, by the way. Within that month, we stopped at a few other national parks too. Yeah. My dad did not have to fly out and drive my mother home. We did survive and make it, and no, she didn't need any weed to do it, though that may have helped her. So, yeah, that ended up being an entire month on the road with my mother. And it was kind of interesting because it's such a like bucket list thing to do. And we ended up doing it just, it was like a game of chicken. My mom's like, you want to drive out to Minnesota? And like, yeah, you want to keep going and get to San Francisco? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So that's just kind of how things happen in my life. I'm sure there's more stories and stuff to tell about this, but again, this was like over 10 years ago, so sadly, much of it has faded from my memory, but I hope having a few little bits and bobs from it is somewhat entertaining. Yeah, I ended up going back for those pretzels in Shipshewana, Indiana a few times, by the way, because they were really good, and Culver's is still one of my favorite things ever. Yeah, so that's my story of how my mother and I ended up on a cross-country road trip and how interesting it was. And that is our time. This is my progress. I hope you made a little progress. I hope you're entertained by some of those little anecdotes. And I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.